For some, there's a love-hate relationship when it comes to technologies. There's love for what it provides with everything at our fingertips on a keyboard. But with the growth of AI, there's a backlash in communities when it comes to having data centers the size of football fields or bigger in their backyards. Georgia is one of the top data center markets in the nation. And joining me are two lawmakers looking to regulate data centers in Georgia. Republican Senator Chuck Hufstetler of Rome is chairman of the Senate Finance Committee. He's also an ex officio member of Appropriations, among his other committees. And also with us is Democratic Representative Debbie Buckner of Junction City. She's on House Appropriations and she's secretary of the House Rural Development Committee, among all of her committees too. Welcome to Lawmakers again this session.
Great to be here again, Donna.
Love to have you here. So you both have bills on data centers, and they're both bipartisan. Your bills, they're a little different. Before we get into the bills, I'd like to know what led you to even take on this topic. And, I'll start with you, Representative Buckner.
Well, last session, there were about 4 proposals in one of my counties, and it's a rural county, and there were a lot of questions. How much water will they use? How much electricity will they use? Where will that come from? Who's going to be responsible for making sure that all the things that this data center needs can be provided and not hurt the existing customers, the people that live in the county now?
So there were going to be 4 in just your county.
There were 4 different entities
proposed,
looking at spots in one county.
Wow. What led you to get into this?
Well, I went back in 2017 and saw a data center in Nevada, and my bill was actually last year. It's a continuation of last year, Senate Bill 34, that said we want them to simply pay all their power costs, their electricity costs. We've had 6 rate increases in a couple of years, and I gave it to the PSC, and they then came up with a rule that said we're going to make them pay all their costs. And Georgia Power agreed to it, and I said, well, then y'all like my bill? It says exactly that. And they said, well, no, we don't like your bill. So it makes me wonder, too often those things are hidden behind trade secrets so that you don't really know who's paying for them. But it's important that we codify into law that they pay all their costs. Our consumers have had way too many rate increases. I think we saw from the PSC elections in November, the consumers around the country were very unhappy, Republicans and Democrats both. And so we need to get protection for the consumers. We've got 60-year costs still, for instance, on Plant Vogtle. The gas turbines they're wanting to build for the data centers they're going to bill us for over 45 years. Who pays for that if they're gone in a few years? Even the PSC staff said, yeah, the protection looks like it's there for a few years, but we don't know after that. So we need to protect our consumers. Our rates are in the top, either 5th or highest rates in the country, according to 2 different studies. We shouldn't be that way. The consumer shouldn't be getting all the cost.
Yeah. So your bill, it would do what exactly?
It would say that all the cost, transmission, distribution, substation, any cost for the data centers could not be put on the consumer's bills. They have to pay all that cost. As it is right now, too many of them only pay the operating cost, and all the construction, like Vogtle, cost a 25% increase on residential bills because they've got all the construction costs to pay for that for the next 60 years. Let the companies that are needing this additional electricity pay for it. And to that point, in 2023, residential customers in Georgia bought less electricity from Georgia Power than they did in 2011. The demand's not coming from the residential customers. Why are they paying all the cost?
Wow, that's interesting. We're going to get back to your bill a little bit more. Representative Buckner, your bill, HB 528, deals with more transparency when it comes to data centers. Tell us about it.
Well, we were really concerned in my part of the state about telling us up front what you're going to need. If you're going to come be a neighbor of ours, we want to be a good neighbor of yours, and we want to know how many gallons of water a day, how many megawatts. We wanted to know that up front, and we've kind of made it be a carrot or a stick kind of situation where you tell us that before you start applying for your permits and moving forward with your project. And then that will mean that you will be eligible for whatever tax incentives there might be. If you don't tell us that up front, then you're not eligible for those incentives. So it gave some leverage to the local counties. We just felt like that was fair. It was fair for them to provide the information. If I invited you to dinner at my house, I'd want to know how many people were coming. I'd want to know if you had any allergies so I wouldn't cook the wrong thing. Well, that's the same kind of situation here for our counties. They need to know that they've got enough water to take care of the families that are counting on it right now, plus the data center if it's coming. They need to know about the power as well.
Yeah, let's talk about that water for a second. Some people don't understand why they need so much. It's a cooling, isn't it?
Right. They use millions of gallons of water, and in the beginning, when I first learned about data centers, the data centers were very consumptive. They used it and let it go, so it was consuming the water. Now, since we've been putting in all these bills, we have more people saying, well, we can do a closed loop system where we're recycling that water, and the water's used to cool down all of the equipment that's inside. It gets very hot, and of course in the summer really hot, so they have to make sure that they keep it cool.
So do we have any guarantees that will happen at this point?
We could very easily say that they're all required to have a closed loop system, that they're required to use gray water. We could say that they were required to do all kinds of things, but we have not been doing that, and that's what's been a little bit concerning for local governing authorities, a lot of legislators, because we've got about 8 bills now, I think, on different things to do with data centers. So people are beginning to say, you know, maybe we need to slow down a minute and look at this and see what we need to do.
Yeah, I think the interesting thing, when they were first coming in, people would just see these huge spaces, the buildings. They didn't really know what they were. They looked like warehouses. So there's that part of it too.
And I need to add, I'm not opposed to data centers. They need to be built. We simply want them to pay their taxes, pay their electricity costs. The closed loop system, I've got a county in my district that's already requiring those. I would liken it to, say, your car radiator. You use the same water over and over again. So they pay a tremendous amount of property taxes. They don't bring much revenue to the state, but we've also got an exemption that the Finance Committee has looked at today. One of them, a bill by a Democrat, one by a Republican, to eliminate those. That sales tax exemption they get is, between the state and local money, is about $3 billion a year. You know, we collect $15 billion in state income taxes. $3 billion is a lot of money. And one of the things says, if you and I go to Walmart and buy a laptop, we pay sales tax. But if you buy $15 million worth, you don't pay sales tax. We need to level the playing field for everybody.
And they were given those tax breaks because it was looked at as an economic development arm, something to bring people in. You don't think they need that anymore? No,
and a University of Georgia study that I had done, I'd ordered it last April, came out and said at least 70% of them would come without any of that $3 billion given to them. That it's totally unnecessary. We're throwing our money away.
Right.
Well, how do you feel?
Well, I read that same study, and thank you for ordering it because it was very enlightening. We've given away probably close to $500 million in tax credits. It's the way we've always been used to doing business. You feel like you have to give something to a company to come to the community to provide jobs. And it provides some construction jobs. There's a lot of controversy about how many jobs are there after the construction's complete. But there is a lot of unknown about what do we really need to offer any kind of tax incentives. They are getting a lot of things here in Georgia because we have abundant water, we have a good network of power generation, and we have workers that can work. So all of those things make us a good place to come without us having to give all these tax credits, and they're just taking advantage of them because they're there.
Now, Senator Hufstetler said he isn't against them. What about you? Are you not against them?
Oh no, they're necessary. We're going to have them. If anything we do that with a cell phone to a computer, whatever, we're going to have data centers. But we need to be sure that they are in the right location where the resources that the data center needs can be provided without a hardship to the community.
I know we're hearing so many bills. A few of them are likely to pass, right? You're feeling good about it this year?
Right. I think there's going to be some bills that do pass out. I hope they pass out of both the House and the Senate.
Yeah.
But
that's the key. They may
the
get the crossover day, but they may not go any further.
Yeah.
Yeah. You feel good about yours too?
Well, we're hoping that something will move over in the House. There are a lot of bills over there that are just sitting around waiting, I think, to see either what the Senate's going to do or how they might be able to combine them.
And
Okay.
I think you may see some bills combined. There may be one that looks
Okay.
at the tax credits that puts some transparency on there, which
Okay.
I fully agree with that. So
All
we'll
right.
see.
We'll see.
That'd
We'll
be
keep
great.
up with it. Thank you both for coming on the show.